Welcome back to The Smart Consumers. I'm Rick Hicks, and today with me is my expert, Joseph Goldberg, counselor at law, the only lawyer in Harrisburg who's listed under the yellow pages under consumer law. I find that fascinating, Joe. I mean, because there's a lot of lawyers in this town, and you're the only one who's really representing consumers with problems like the ones we're talking about.
Yeah, and that's typical of the state and the country. There aren't too many consumer lawyers out there.
But we're talking about employment scams of various kinds, and you just started talking about multi-level marketing programs, and I'm aware that there's also this concept of pyramids out there too. Can you tell us what the difference between a multi-level marketing program and a pyramid is?
Sure. A pyramid scheme has as its main focus a buy-in or payment from people who are below you if you diagram out the pyramid. The money comes mainly from people making an investment, if you want to call it that, into the pyramid, as opposed to a true multi-level marketing program which focuses on the sale of a product or a service. The significant difference is the multi-level marketing scheme, a product or a service is being sold, that's what generates your profit. A pyramid scheme is just a pure investment of money.
So let's take that apart a little bit. Pyramid scheme, sort of like an upside down pyramid actually, right? Money comes in the top and it goes out the bottom, and you're saying that people, excuse me, are paid commissions based on recruiting other people into the program? Is that right?
Exactly. The money comes from people who pay to get into the program as opposed to people who actually buy something.
And is that legal?
No.
Oh.
It is not legal. It's actually it can be a criminal offense, but it's definitely a violation of the state consumer protection law.
Now, if you tie together this recruiting of other people into a program with the sale of a product, is it still illegal?
Now, at the risk of sounding like a lawyer, that it gets to be more of a gray area because it depends on what the focus really is. If a law enforcement agency wants to press and see what's really going on and finds out that the sale of the product or the service is really just a kind of a sidelight and the main focus is the recruitment, then yes, it's probably an illegal pyramid.
Well, I know that Amway and Mary Kay and those kinds of companies use multi-level marketing. How are they legal?
Well, courts have considered those types of programs and have determined that the sale of the product is a substantial portion of the program, and therefore they are not pyramids, they are true multi-level marketing programs.
And that's a good point, because I'm also aware that in some instances people buy those products and get stuck holding those products, so they never really engage in any sales. So are you saying that where people have to pay a lot of money to buy product and aren't really taught how to or encouraged to sell product and are only encouraged to bring other people in to get money, that's what would be an illegal pyramid?
That's true, and in fact some of the bigger companies that you mentioned will actually have programs where they buy back product if it's not sold. You're right. If there's a product, if there's an organization where you're required to buy a lot of product and nobody cares whether you sell it or not, and then you're stuck with it, that puts you back into the pyramid category.
All right, so I still don't have a job, but at least I have some idea about what kinds of opportunities might be out there available to me. If I wound up being stung by either one of these options, by the service agencies or by the get-rich-quick schemes or investment opportunities or by the multi-level marketing programs, what options do I have for help?
Well, you have several options. Probably one of the most effective options is the Attorney General's Bureau of Consumer Protection. They've had extensive experience in this area and do a very good job of going after some of the bigger fraudulent players and getting money back for people.
Well, you actually mentioned to me that you saw a case that they did recently. Can you tell us about that kind of thing?
Well, yesterday the Attorney General's office announced that they had settled a case against a company, I think it was Civil Service Careers or Career Center. It was one of these employment agencies that allegedly had some pipeline to federal civil service jobs.
Interesting.
And people paid them money and, of course, didn't get jobs because there really weren't, there wasn't anything that agency could do for them in terms of getting them federal jobs.
Do you know how much money people paid?
I'm not really sure how much they paid in. I do know the Attorney General's office was successful in getting back almost $40,000 for consumers.
And they gave that money back to or the Attorney General's office is going to give that money back to consumers?
That's my understanding, yes.
That's excellent. And in those cases, in addition to getting people's money back, doesn't the Attorney General's office have the ability to do fines and civil penalties against a company for something like that?
Right. The Attorney General's office can not only get fines or civil penalties, but they have the right to ask the court to put the business out of business, which is a pretty significant tool, very powerful tool.
Just like pull the ticket, huh? Well, Joe, I think this is absolutely exactly the kind of information that people need to make smart consumer choices. One of the things that I'm aware of is that when people are out of work, they really do have consequences in their lives about being out of work. I mean, debts build up. You get calls from debt collectors. You get letters from debt collectors. And the world sort of feels like it's closing in on you. What I'd like to do is I'd like to have you stay around so we can talk about some of those debt issues. And while our viewing audience may not be able to see that today, one of the things that they will be able to see next week is our dialogue on debt and debt recovery issues. So tune in again next week and hear from Attorney Joe Goldberg and I as we talk about debt management, debt collection, and debt option issues, because this is exactly the kind of information you need to become a smart consumer. Thank you all very much.